is NBC Palm Springs.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Gino Lamont.
And I'm Sarah Sanchez. This afternoon, we have hot and humid weather with some of the very elements that sparked the fires in Northern California. We'll hear from Chief Meteorologist Mike Everett in just a moment. But we do begin with those fires exploding to nearly 800,000 acres across the state. The fires are generating so much smoke in the Bay Area that air quality alerts are being issued. The Bay Area officially has the worst air quality in the world. Earlier this week, Governor Gavin Newsom declared a state of emergency so he could ask for outside assistance. The Palm Springs Fire Department is among the agencies answering that call, sending a battalion chief to help coordinate fire crews and equipment. The fires have claimed at least 5 lives already, and the number of homes lost is simply unknown, and this is far from over. Firefighters face weeks of work ahead of them, possibly even months. But we also discovered farm workers are busy working in the shadows of these fires, working in the heat, harvesting crops by hand, and feeding America. We wanted to focus on these essential workers tonight. Our Nico Payne is live in our satellite center with our story. Nico.
That's right, Sarah. Farm workers are used to working in extreme conditions, and local advocates tell me that although they're used to triple-digit temperatures, smoke is another factor that makes conditions much tougher.
So now we're talking about one disaster on top of another disaster.
Farm workers have never stopped working throughout the coronavirus pandemic, and now California is facing a fight on 3 fronts: a pandemic, extreme heat, and out-of-control wildfires.
When we're talking about the California wildfires, so we know farm workers are letting us know that the air quality is very bad. It's difficult to breathe. Some are unsure about what their rights are.
This video posted on Instagram went viral. It offers just a glimpse at what they're facing.
Some of that air coming through from the recent fires here in our county as well. And we've had some farm workers hospitalized.
Many of these workers are immigrants who have trouble getting health insurance. We spoke to a local farm worker. She only gave us her first name to protect her identity. She has pre-existing conditions that make this work especially hard.
It's not easy. It's a really difficult job. I have asthma, so it was a little bit more difficult for me to breathe.
Mariana gets a break from the harsh sun for now.
Right now we're doing a night shift. We're planting bell peppers. So it's from 6 p.m. till 3 a.m. in the morning.
Adding to her challenges, her children are home all day because of the pandemic.
It's really difficult having our kids home, struggling a lot to help them out with their iPad.
Gallego stresses that extreme events like the heat wave, the fires, and the pandemic are underscoring the systemic issues.
These conditions have always been there. Right now, COVID is shedding light on a lot of issues and challenges our community has faced for years and years.
And right now, the biggest concern is the air quality for these workers. Advocates want to make it known that help is out there. For more information on who to contact, you can head to our website, NBCPalmSprings.com. Reporting live, I'm Nico Payne. Gino, I'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Nico. As we mentioned, the weather conditions, it sparked some of those fires stretching out across the state during these hot, dry days. And then monsoonal weather that brings dangerous lightning strikes, flash flood, and hail. That's hail in Idyllwild sent in to us by Michael Thomas. It came down hard and fast this afternoon. Part of that unpredictability is summer weather in the mountains that surround the Coachella Valley, and the muggy conditions have been stifling. Let's turn it over to Chief Meteorologist Mike Everett. Explain why things happen in our local mountains, but often don't make it down to the valley floor. Mike, does this surprise you what we're seeing right now?
Absolutely not, Gino. We've been forecasting this for the last 2 or 3 days. Basically, we've got 2 very powerful elements, fire and water, at play here. This is Genevieve. You mentioned it a couple times already. Now a post-tropical storm, in fact, making its way along Baja. We've been watching this. That cloud cover that you saw over top of the Coachella Valley today did a couple things for us. It didn't hit prohibited temperatures. In fact, we didn't get anywhere close to where forecast models had us numerically, but still, humidity out there was just heavy and thick today, and it still kept us feeling hot and kept that cloud cover over top of us. That moisture coming up from the south, when it interacted with that afternoon heat, fired those storms off across the mountains. I'll show you the current status on those in just a moment. This system will continue to walk its way up the coast, and some of that moisture has the potential to spark some dry lightning in northern and central California this weekend. So even though it's no longer a powerful storm in terms of rain, it will still have a heavy influence across the state. Nico was just telling you about this a moment ago. I just want to show you what this looks like. These are all the watches and warnings that are in place. The purple you probably recognize at this point. This is the excessive heat warning that we were under for almost an entire week here in the Coachella Valley. Happy to tell you that that's no longer an issue. But you see these colors here, that gray, that tan, and this yellow, those are all some form of a smoke advisory. We've got an air quality issue up and down the I-5 corridor there that stretches into Fresno, then up into the Bay Area here. This is a fire weather watch. They've got fires actively burning. Well, they've got the potential for more as Genevieve continues to walk along the coast there and potentially spark some more dry lightning all throughout the weekend. So not only do they have the current fires on their hands, they could be tracking some new ones by the time we get to Sunday. And then as you look off towards the north and east here, this yellow color is also a smoke advisory, because remember, the high pressure takes all of that smoke off towards the north and east. So everything that's happening in California right now is blowing into Nevada and really seriously damaging air quality. So we've got some mugginess and some humidity, but it's not anywhere near as bad as it is across the rest of the state. Taking a look outside right now, we got something really interesting going on. Remember, 106 is the 30-year average for this time of year. We weren't even remotely close to that, but humidity has been riding in the upper 30s and lower 40s today. That's why it feels so muggy and warm out there. We're going to take that into the weekend. Next 3 days brought to you by Comfort Air shows the numbers down. In fact, we'll be below 110 this weekend. We're going to make a run at some low 80s overnight, but we will be tracking some of that moisture that can fire more mountain storms and keep us muggy this weekend. I got some good news as far as next week goes. I'll share it with you coming up.
All right, thank you, Mike. Changes coming to Palm Springs as the main drive through the heart of downtown is about to take on a new look and a new purpose in the wake of the pandemic. Our Olivia Sandusky is live in downtown Palm Springs, where Palm Canyon Drive will become something of a promenade. Is that correct, Olivia?
You got that right, Gino. In just about 2 weeks, too, coming up really fast here. This section of Palm Canyon that we're on, in between Taquets, all the way down to Barristo there, you're going to see restaurants moving into the street, people eating right here across the roadway because it will be closed to vehicle traffic. And I spoke to some owners today who told me they are certainly welcoming this change. Staff at Revel Public House sets up their extended patio for the day. The restaurant's owner says she's excited the city is allowing her business to expand into Palm Canyon.
It's the best thing to do right now, just to keep people farther apart, to give restaurants a little bit more room to spread out.
The closure will allow restaurants to serve customers on parts of the roadway, leaving room only for emergency vehicles to pass through. But with more space comes added cost in labor.
It is going to be a major expense, probably, between $5,000 and $10,000.
We're going to have more of our employees coming back, which will make them so pleased.
After hearing the challenges restaurants may face, Mayor Kors says the city will help businesses financially with the move.
We'll cover the cost of the K-rails, the barriers that are needed to close streets, and if we need to close lanes or help businesses with parklets, we'll cover those costs of those barriers. We also tell businesses that want to do nicer parklets, if they invest in their own parklet, which could be raised and using parking spots, they can keep it up for at least a year.
Some restaurants outside of the Taquets to Barristo boundaries say they support the city's plan, but are okay with not taking part.
It's extra labor, taking it in, taking it out. I don't have the extra people or the money to put the stuff in and out. But we got to try everything possible to keep our economy going.
And Mayor Kors says the city's goal is to support those businesses who aren't part of the Palm Canyon closure as well.
We want to help businesses everywhere in the city. So the parklets, being able to use part of your parking lot, using street parking, using parks or sidewalks, that's good everywhere in the city.
And another area Mayor Kors told me they're working on expanding here in the closure is the retail in the area. He says under their COVID-19 restrictions, they're hoping to give them an opportunity to possibly push into the sidewalks as well. He'll have more details on that plan in a couple of weeks. Reporting live in Palm Springs, I'm Olivia Sandusky.
All right, thank you, Olivia. Nursing students are making a lot of noise in order for their message to be heard tonight, which is that they need to graduate because they want to work on the front lines of the pandemic. Our Kitty Alvarado has their story.
Keep our nursing school open! Nursing students and their allies gathered outside College of the Desert.
COG, shut us down!
They're protesting the college canceling the semester's clinical courses needed for them to graduate.
They are 3 months away from the finish line, and this is a hard blow for many students.
Because of the pandemic, nursing programs across the state postponed clinical training.
The problem with nursing schools closing, it doesn't just affect nursing students, it affects the world, really.
While the decision is made to protect students, many worry this decision will put more lives at risk. A recent study determined our country needs 1 million more nurses in the next few years to keep up with retirements, or we'll have a critical shortage by 2030. The state that's number 1 on the list with the most severe shortage looming, California. This healthcare worker, who does not want to be identified, says the timing on this is wrong.
In the middle of a pandemic, when we are out there exhausted, many of these students have jobs waiting for them.
We reached out to College of the Desert. Their spokesperson tells us when the crisis first started, emergency exemptions were made by the Board of Registered Nurses that allowed them to offer clinical training through online simulations. But now that those exemptions have expired, they're forced to postpone fall courses.
And it's so disheartening to see that in the middle of a pandemic, student nurses have to fight to finish their calling.
In Palm Desert,
God bless nursing!
Kitty Alvarado, NBC Palm Springs.
Heavy police activity in Palm Springs around 9:30 this morning. Police say a man was armed and barricaded inside a home on Santa Elena and appeared to be acting erratically. After about 3 hours of unsuccessful negotiations, a SWAT team deployed tear gas. Police arrested Bruce Lombardi. He surrendered. He's facing multiple charges, including felon in possession of a firearm. And in Palm Desert, Riverside County Sheriff's deputies conduct a search for a wanted suspect. They're looking in a neighborhood off Fred Waring and Cook. No word from RSO about what the suspect is wanted for or if they've located him tonight.
Coming up, the moment at the final night of Democratic National Convention that has so many people talking today. The young man with a stutter speaks to the nation, a heart-stopping moment. We're going to hear from him coming up next.
And an oil refinery explodes into a great big orange fireball, thick black toxic smoke filling the air. Officials say several people are missing now. You're watching NBC Palm Springs. We'll be right back. Decision 2020 and the Democratic National Convention celebrates presidential nominee Joe Biden and vice presidential nominee Kamala Harris. This was one of Biden's moments during his acceptance speech last night.
And after all this time, the president still does not have a plan. Well, I do. If I'm your president, on day one, we'll implement the national strategy I've been laying out since March. We'll develop and deploy rapid tests with results available immediately. We'll make the medical supplies and protective equipment that our country needs. And we'll make them here in America, so we will never again be at the mercy of China or other foreign countries in order to protect our own people.
But perhaps the moment that captured most viewers was Braden Harrington, the 13-year-old boy, speaks with a stutter. He shared how Joe Biden worked with him and encouraged him to overcome his stutter.
About a few months ago, I met him in New Hampshire. He told me that we were members of the same club. We stutter. It was really amazing to hear that someone like me became vice president. He told me about a book of poems by Yeats he would read out loud to practice. He showed me how he marks his addresses to make them easier to say out loud. So I did the same thing today. And now I'm here talking to you today about the future, about our future.
He described himself as just a regular kid, pretty incredible. And he thanked Mr. Biden for helping him.
Around the country, fire in Corpus Christi, Texas, injured at least 6 people. This is at Valero Energy loading dock. Coast Guard says a dredge hit a submerged pipeline that caused this explosion. 6 people are recovering at the hospital. The Coast Guard says another 6 are still missing in this fireball. So you had to break. Quick check of our Walter Clark Highway 111 cam. Mike's in next with a check of your forecast. We'll be right back after the break. Stick around.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you want me to cut it down 30 seconds? Like what? I think I got you covered here. Currents, current winds, tonight hourly, bar chart static. Yeah. Welcome back. This is a live look courtesy of our Agua Caliente Casino Cam in beautiful downtown Palm Springs, California. Looking off towards the north and northwest tonight, we are seeing a lot of haze hanging out at the mouth of the pass. To answer the initial question, no, this is not smoke. This is one of the only areas in California that is not smoke inundated right now. This is moisture. It is steam. We saw that humidity riding in the upper 30s and lower 40s. We're going to take that into the weekend as well. I'll tell you about that in a moment. Here's another shot. Remember yesterday we were looking at that shot from Santa Cruz. This is from Contra Costa County up in Northern California. Mount Diablo is normally one of the most beautiful views you can see. You can see some of that marine layer cloud cover off in the distance, but everything you're seeing in the foreground there is smoke. Watches, warnings, and advisories in place through the entire weekend for most of North and Central California and out into Nevada as that smoke continues to blow off towards the north and east. This is Genevieve. We were talking about her earlier. Basically just a post-tropical low at this point, but the cloud cover that's over top of us today will continue to move up towards the north, and that could spark some dry lightning storms this weekend. That's going to be a major concern. Another major concern is the tropics. I'll tell you about that in a moment, but here's what Genevieve did for us today. Pulled some of that moisture along the mountains from the south to the north. Saw a very impressive storm. We were showing that one to you earlier that popped up over top of Idlewild today. It has since matured, and anything that's happening is blowing off towards the north and west tonight, so no chances of that coming into the Coachella Valley tonight. More storm potential this weekend, though. We'll talk about that coming up at 6. So Genevieve continues to just walk up the coast there, will cause problems of its own. This is Laura, and this is what has the potential to become Marco. Both of these storm systems making a beeline towards the Gulf. That's going to be an issue over the weekend, but first Laura is going to batter Puerto Rico, parts in there like Haiti, Cuba, everybody on watch. In fact, the Florida Keys have watches and warnings in place right now and has the potential to ramp up to hurricane status as it moves into that warmer water. Hasn't been since 1959 since 2 active storm systems were in the Gulf at the same time. A lot of folks making preparations there. We've got issues of our own. Genevieve will continue to keep us humid through the weekend. 75-degree dew points, 40% humidity. Yeah, so even though temperatures are low, it's not going to be a particularly comfortable weekend, but we see that trending down as we go towards next week. In fact, it looks like that will finally shut off around Wednesday. Excessive heat warnings in place for virtually everybody but us. In fact, there is a heat watch in place for the Imperial Valley. It will be abnormally warm there this weekend. Off towards our north and off towards our west, temperatures still above 100 degrees there, and heat and humidity combined is going to make it very uncomfortable. Here's what we did today. That cloud cover kept us 3 degrees below average. Okay, that would be great if it wasn't so humid out there. 88 is where we touched down overnight, all because of the moisture in the atmosphere. 89 in the Yucca Valley currently, 102 in Coachella, 73 up in the mountains. Easterly flow becomes northwest tonight. Doesn't get particularly breezy, but should give us some ventilation, and we'll break into the double digits way earlier than we did last night. That sets us up in the mid-80s on Saturday morning. 106 will be our high in Palm Springs, 108 in Indio, and 102 in Joshua Tree. We're going to stay warm and muggy through the weekend. Then that high pressure makes a shift next week. It'll take temperatures up by day, but could potentially dry us out starting on Wednesday.
Coronavirus coverage brought to you by East Valley COVID-19 testing site, serving residents of eastern Coachella Valley.
Here are the latest COVID-19 numbers for Riverside County and the Valley. 526 more cases were reported in the county. 98 of those were from our valley. There were 5 new deaths in the county, and 1 of them was from the desert. We'll be right back. We're following breaking news, a brush fire burning near Shadow Hills High School. We will have a crew on the way right now, and we'll bring that to you during our 6 o'clock newscast, and we'll see you then.